First thing you do when you log in, you should see something similar to what I'm seeing. It's going to be a little bit different because I'm viewing it as a teacher and you are viewing it as a student, but it should still be very similar. You see today you have the 2.08 boiling and melting points and also the drop box that's due with it. So when you click that, it's going to take you to the entire set of information. Now, I'm going to show you how to make sure that you have everything that you need in order to complete it properly. Sorry, that was a yawn. All right. So, there's a little video here that I need you to watch. I'm not going to do it with you because this is something you need to do on your own.
How did Mendeleev figure out how to organize the periodic table?
Okay. Then you're going to go in and you're going to start talking about the background of what we're doing. So this is about the boiling and melting points of not just water, but also other things. So make sure that you review everything going through here. We have the periodic table. A group is a vertical column of elements. You have a family, which is a left to right row of elements. And then remember, boiling point is the temperature that something turns from liquid to gas. For water, that's 100 degrees, which is what they base the Celsius temperatures off of. And then the melting point is the point where the solid goes to a liquid. What's wrong with me? Whew. All right. And then a pattern or a trend is going to be something that we graph to observe the data. And then it's going to usually create a pattern or a trend. And that's what we're going to try and look for today when we're graphing these boiling and melting points. Okay. So this is where you get all of these super important information. You need to go to this page that says Investigation, Boiling and Melting Points. And do you see that there are three links right here on the side of the paper? This one is the data table that has all of the information about the boiling points and the melting points. Then you have the graphing paper, which you can use to draw on, and you have the periodic table of elements. Okay, so let me show you those. Okay, so I downloaded and pulled up the data table to show you what it looks like. This has all of the information about all of the elements on the periodic table up to element 20, calcium, and it goes in order of their atomic number. It tells you their melting point and their boiling point, and this is all in Kelvin. All right, so then you also have the graph paper, which was given to you. You can print this out and handwrite on it. But if you want to get fancy, I don't know if you already know this, but there are ways that you can insert shapes into your paper. I'll go over that in just a second on how to do that. I just want to also pull up the periodic table, which is this document right here that you've seen a million times, and it just has everything on it for all the elements laid out. So let's go through and see what it wants us to do, and then we'll know how to properly create this graph of data. So on this screen, you just want to kind of go through everything and read. It tells you what to do. You're going to label your vertical axis from starting at 0 in 100-degree increments. You see how it says that right there in the text, and then you're going to label for your atomic number along the bottom. So it tells you exactly what to do step by step. It tells you to plot your points, and it tells you to connect those points to kind of show a little bit of data, and then we can go ahead and move on to the next part. Procedure, that's this next one, and it kind of goes through and tells you step by step what to do. Now let me show you how to access these steps. So it says step one, it says you're going to follow the steps to answer your question and take your time and graph the data points, being sure to keep the boiling point data and the melting point data on separate lines. So that means if I were you, I would use like a black pen or a black colored pencil and do the boiling point marks or the dots, and then use a different color like a blue colored pencil for the melting points. That way you can keep them separate, and when you connect the lines later on, you'll be able to keep them all apart. So get your graph paper, get your colored pencils, a ruler or something else with a straight edge, and print out that graph paper. Or if you already have graph paper from a math class or something like that, that's fine too. If you do it on the computer, it's going to be a little bit more challenging, but you can, and I'll show you how to use and insert shapes. So the way you go through your steps is you literally just click the little button at the bottom that has the lines, and it tells you what each step is, and you click reveal. So it says print out that data table and look it over. See, we already had pulled it up for us to look at. Okay, it says it's going to tell us both the melting points and the boiling points. Step 3, draw your set of axes to begin a graph. It's only going to have positive values, so you only need to show one quadrant. So that means it's going to look like the L type thing that it was on the last paper. You're going to label the y-axis, so the vertical axis is temperature in Kelvin, and you're labeling the other one atomic number. Okay? Then make tick marks along each axis and label them with appropriate values. And then create 2 line plots on the same graph. So use a red colored pencil to plot the boiling point. You really can use whatever color you want as long as you keep them straight. Make small circles for each data point. And when you've plotted all of them, go back and connect them. So that's whenever you're going to be using this sheet and the graphing paper to do it. So the boiling points, for example, you've got 20.28. For hydrogen's atomic number is 1. So let's just do that first one together. On the graph paper, you're going to create your one quadrant that has positive values, and you are going to label it. So the way that you're going to do this, if you're going to use online, is you need to get your outline essentially for your graph paper, and we're going to create it using our little arrow tools. So what I did is I clicked the Insert tab and then I clicked Shapes and I chose the arrow. If you want to just do lines, you can just do lines. That's fine. I accidentally did my arrow upside down, so I need to fix that. And then I like to just make the line a bit thicker so you can really see it. So I went to Shape Outline. I changed the weight to thicker. And then you can really just copy it. So right click, copy. Oop, not cut. That's fine. And then you can paste it. So you just paste. Okay, now you can use this little green and you can turn it flat. And you just want to have that match up with the other one, right, to make it look like a nice pretty little graph. You can use your arrow tools if you want to move just slight amounts to make it look nice and neat. And then this is the part that's going to get annoying if you're using your computer. But because this is a graph and the way it's set up, you should actually be able to type in each one. Okay, so do me a favor and ignore the numbers that are on the y-axis to the left because I'm gonna kind of go through and show you how to add in numbers in general the best way. You can sometimes type in the numbers in the boxes for the graph, but most of the time that would result in you having to make the letters so tiny you wouldn't really be able to easily read them. So what I suggest is doing what I am, which is going to be either adding a text box, which can be good sometimes, but sometimes it will mess up your formatting, but adding a shape is the best. So go to Insert, Shapes, and then get a square and add that shape right there, okay? Click Add Text, so you right click it and click Add Text, and then you press 1, and then you can just resize it down to the right size where you don't have a lot of extra, right? That's also a way that you can do the sides, but then you can just copy and paste and change the number. Copy, paste, and then on this one I'm just going to put 2 and so on. Okay, so hopefully that'll help you if you are doing it on the computer. As you can see, it's a lot more tedious and time consuming than just printing it out and doing it by hand. So if you want to do that, Good for you. Go for it. Okay. So what I said is we're going to plot the first one. So it says atomic number for hydrogen, the boiling point is 20.28 and the atomic number is 1. And it says that we're going to make solid circles that are red for the boiling point data. If you choose to do something other than what it tells you, then you need to make a key in the bottom corner. So if you choose to use like orange or pink, then you need to have a key down at the bottom that says pink is boiling point. Okay, so you go to insert, shapes, and you've got a little circle, and you're going to insert it for element 1 just above 20.20 because it's 20.28, and you want to change your fill to red. And you can really just copy and paste these for the rest of the boiling point data, and that's how you know it's in the right spot. You just kind of click off to the side and it'll show you. Okay? Hopefully that helps you out. Um, it kind of goes through step by step on how to do the rest of it. Blue colored pencil or blue circles for your melting point data. And then you're going to use a black colored pencil and draw a square around the data points that represent both the boiling points and melting points for helium and neon. So these are the elements that are numbers 2 and 10. And so if you look here, you see how helium, these are its boiling points. So on the graph, you're going to make sure you put a little black square around that one. And neon, you're going to do a black square around that one. Okay, so let me bring it back to for a second. The elements, once you get up past um, probably what, like element 10, it starts getting really big numbers. So I think that whenever I was looking earlier, I actually didn't read it properly because it was talking about how to make sure you label your graph. I'm thinking that we're supposed to label it in hundreds because it gets such big numbers. So let's double check and make sure. Okay, so it says label your vertical axis temperature and the increments are set at 100 degrees. So make sure that on your graph, this would actually be 100, and then the next one would be 200, and you would move on, okay? So I would suggest inserting the shapes then, because otherwise you're going to have a hard time fitting those numbers in that tiny little box, okay? So I would insert shapes like right here, right 100, 200, 300 and go up that way. So that means that this one, when it's 20, it would actually be just way far down here because that's 0 and that's 100 and you graph it there in between. All right, so hopefully this helps you guys go through the rest of the steps and you finish drawing the graph and the data and then you submit it to the Dropbox. The way that you submit to the Dropbox, hold on 1 second. We're going to, this is the graded assignment right here. I'm going to open it up. We'll look at it together. You have to answer these based on the lines that you plotted on your graph, okay? So, describe how boiling point and melting point vary. Look at the segment of the graph between two data points marked with black squares. So it's really important that you go through each step to make sure that you get the proper answers for these. These will be graded on if they are correct or incorrect, not just if they're completed. All right, so whenever you're going to add it back into your Dropbox, so this is the lab report, right? So the best thing that I suggest is you click File, you click Save As, and you put it on a place in your documents or something that you know really easily how to find. So I always save things into my documents, and I'll just put Phys Sci Lab or Boiling Points. That way I know that's definitely the name. And then you're going to go to Upload, and you're going to find it, Documents. There's one that's Phys Sci Boiling Points. You click the Open button, it'll upload it. You click Submit. I'm not going to submit it because I don't need to submit something under my name, but that's going to automatically register it as complete, and you will be done with the assignment for the day. All right, so good luck. Um, email me if you need anything, but this should be very self-explanatory, and you should be able to go through everything on your own now. Thank you. Have a good day and have a good weekend. And just so you know, your new teacher starts next week.